we're on. So I wanted to talk about how my goal for people who come into the office has shifted over the years.
All right, hit me.
So when I grew up seeing chiropractors, and it was all the chiropractic philosophy, which is the power that made the body heals the body. Then I went to uni and we did all of the mechanical science of chiropractic and, 5 years of that all day, every day kind of shifts how you think a bit.
It does.
So I came out of uni and it was all very, very mechanical.
I remember.
Pretty much. Right. This joint doesn't move properly. We need to make it move the way I think it should. So for 10 years, I pretty much did just that.
Yes.
You're not moving properly. We need to move it properly. Then you'll be happier.
Force
Everything
into this
does what it needs
joint.
to.
Oh, that feels stuck. Get it moving. Yep.
Exactly. Then we found NetworkSpinal.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
you.
I found it and dragged you along, kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
And then you
Fair
kind of took it and ran with it, which was phenomenal.
I know.
But that changed it to being, this is not moving, and this is me judging what should be and where you are lacking.
Yes.
And how I'm going to fix that for you.
Yes, I'm liking where this is going.
So it shifted it to, isn't that interesting? But this is really good over there. So what if we bring more attention to the good and let that spread?
Yes.
All right. So
That's the premise of NetworkSpinal.
that was a nice shift. The other side of the coin, I call it. Like
Same coin. Because,
same coin, just approaching it from another angle. All right. But even still, up until about 6 to 9 months ago, the movement, the idea was still, we're going to approach it from the other side, but I still want you to feel better because it's moving better, it's functioning better.
Yes,
all right?
still mechanical and
Still
still
mechanical.
looking for a resolution and outcome.
Exactly.
Okay.
Just another way of doing it. A
Yep.
gentler, more positive way, right?
Yes, still
Without judgment.
It's still very 3D,
bit
still
judgment.
very bodywork chiropractic. Yeah.
So, 6 to 9 months ago, I realized that, hang on, that's nice. And it was an evolution. I didn't realize it at the time. It was about 3 months ago that I realized what I was doing. But the goal switched from being, you need to be moving better, or we'll take attention to the good stuff and then you'll move better and heal better, to, what if everything was just calmer? What if it was a more peaceful place to be somewhere in your body, and your body was out of that stress mode where it's worried about the next 5 minutes instead of taking care of all of the things that have been sitting in the background and sneaking up on you? What if we calm it down so your body can actually go, this is the right thing to do right now?
Yes. Now, I mean, I have always been on a bit of a different journey to you, and I completely and utterly get this. And for me, this is exactly the same thing that I do. But, I get this because it is more about... Okay, so the thing I hated about chiropractic, eventually, was as a chiropractor, was that I still found it to be health from without. Like, I was still the authority, right? And saying, hey, that doesn't work. Even though we tout that, hey, we are getting to the bottom of things, it was still the idea of, I believe this should move this way. I am going to put my idea onto that, and that's going to happen. And you're right. What I love about NetworkSpinal is that, hey, we are all individuals. We are all having a human experience. And maybe what your body is doing is the best it can from with what you've given it. This is all the energy it has. This is all the, whatever you've been giving it. This is what it's got.
This is the load that it can take.
Yeah. And what I love about NetworkSpinal is it's super honoring. And it's about what is honoring for this person in this body at this moment.
Yeah.
So I'm a very esoteric practitioner. And there is something very funny that I can do is that I can see in someone's body what is going to happen in the next 5 visits or so, right? I can go, right, I can see that that's there. So when I went to a NetworkSpinal conference, they said, yeah, look, that's not super normal, but, you know, it's kind of cool. That
But good for you.
Good for you. Good for you. But I was doing it in practice because I was like, well, we might as well pull it into here. And my clients loved it. They were like, yeah, like, let's get it started. Let's get it done. But it's not honoring for a person in that moment. You know?
To bring their future forward to them right now.
Exactly. It's collapsing, collapsing the wave, which is exactly what we do as chiropractors. We go, I want your body to look like this in 3 months because that's the optimum. We collapse the wave for people.
Being that instead of leaving your body open to all opportunities, you bring it to this one.
This one possibility, which is you will move better, you will feel better. Exactly. And we will pull that future into now. So here's the thing. What we do now is much more honoring in the fact of, I don't know what's going to happen. Your body has an idea. It knows, hey, it might get worse before it gets better. But this is about all possibilities for you, not the one possibility of, hey, I hope that your back pain gets better. Because maybe your back pain's not meant to get better. Do you know what I mean?
Here's the thing, like, again, people don't like to hear this, but maybe that pain, maybe you are right here, right now, for a reason.
Exactly, you are right where you need to be.
The pain that you have is here to teach you a lesson. Exactly. It's meant to be part of your journey, right?
Right. And we're not here to complain about it because...
And I do judge it a little bit, but I try not to.
Well, but
it's meant to be your journey, right? If you're here with that pain.
But this is the thing. Like, two of my favourite things from A Course in Miracles is, I am not afraid for you and I will not comfort your littleness. I'm here for your evolution and not for your comfort.
So I do fall into the trap, and I do call it a trap, of comforting the little self.
Yeah.
Because the ego or the little self, it's the thing that we pay attention to. It's the squeaky wheel.
Well, it's the voice in your head.
It's everything that we experience while we're awake, for most of us.
Yeah, it's the voice in our head, and the ego speaks to us in logic and reason. So it is really hard to ignore it because it makes damn good sense. And it speaks to us in the voice that
and it's been with you for your entire life.
It is your
so you are going to trust
friend. It. Yeah, but it doesn't always have your best interests at heart, as it turns out. No. It wants separateness. And I don't get me started. I love the ego. It is an amazing servant. We would not be able to be humans without it. It is brilliant, and I pay homage to it every single day. But it needs to be kept in check.
Yeah.
So when you are on so I had a client the other day. Actually, she asked me, do I get really annoyed with people when I'm, my friends and stuff, when they have very little conversations, very petty.
Little being.
Very petty, very superficial, like, let's talk about the royals or, Harry's new book or whatever. And I said, no, not at all. I love it. I love it. Spill the tea for me. Like, we can chat about that stuff all the time when we're having a glass of wine or a cup of coffee or having lunch outside. But when you are on my table, that shit is not tolerated.
We're doing some deep work.
When you are working with me, I will not comfort that littleness because you are talking about that shit with me because you don't want to talk about the real issues. What is really bothering you? If you want to complain about your husband, sorry, I'm going to be devil's advocate and be like, all right. Honestly, I had a client one time.
What in you needs to change?
Yeah. Well, I had a client one time and she was complaining about her husband. Anyway, and what she was annoyed about. Anyway, so a little bit later on for the conversation, and eventually I said to her, isn't it much easier to complain about that thing with him than actually to tell him that you're really bothered about the other thing that you feel that you can't say you're bothered about? Like, that's a serious issue. That's an issue that you're being petty about, that you've got feelings about. And instead of saying, hey, I really want to talk about that. I know I'm being petty. I know that it's a really weird thing, but it's still bothering me. It's much easier to go, oh my God, his jokes just really irritate me. It's like, it's not his jokes that are irritating you. His behaviour in other ways that you feel you can't pull up. I'm not talking about you. That's not at all you. I just tell you. I would just say, Jacob, I'm being really petty right now, but I don't want you to do this.
So in that situation, I'm a Ho'oponopono practitioner as well, right?
Yeah.
And the idea, one of the key things there is that everything that you perceive in the world, whether you read in the news, whether it's part of your relationship, whether it's these thoughts that keep coming through to you, they are all part of your perception.
Well, yeah.
They are all your responsibility. They are all there for you.
Yeah.
So have you noticed whenever there's a problem, you're there. They are all your problem. So you need to take ownership of that. You need to trust the big self, the observer behind the ego, to be able to take care of that.
Yeah, okay, so one of the
They're
things...
part of your journey for your evolution.
Yeah, so one of the things that Donnie Epstein, the founder of NetworkSpinal, talks about is, it's just one of it's my favorite quote, I think, which is, fill up the ego until it spills into the soul. So sometimes we do need to placate the little self. Sometimes we do need to say, yeah, cool, okay, that's really bothering me. Like, yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem for me. And it can be petty and it can be silly, but it's still a problem. Like, the ego is not going to sleep until you say, hey, okay, I'm going to deal with that. All right, I'll deal with it for you. Because, like, for better or worse, it's still part of us, you know?
It's going to be there for the long haul.
So I really believe that we need to listen to that little voice. And, like, you know, if you're at my table and you're like, oh my God, this is like, but I will tell you, like, that's littleness. And I'm not going to comfort that. I'm going to poke at it. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't like pay homage to it, but I'm not going to comfort it.
Yeah.
That part of me doesn't need to be like, oh, poor you. Oh, your husband does have bad jokes. No, like, that's not the problem. Like, yeah, okay, that might be bothering you, but that is not the problem.
No.
You know, and we can actually recognize something without comforting it. You know?
Absolutely.
And like, we do it with our children all the time. We say, hey, I understand you're upset. Like, I get it. That is hard. That is tough. But you know what? Suck it up.
You can deal with
Because you can deal with this, because I am not afraid for you. This is not something that is insurmountable to you, you know? And that is tough love. That's not even tough love, sorry. That is fierce love. That is true love. Because love is not letting the people you love get away with bullshit. I'm not letting you get away with it.
100%.
I'm not letting you. Like, that is
That is
smallness.
not the role we play here.
No, that is smallness that is holding you back. And you know what? I get that that's annoying for you, and that must really suck. But honestly,
But you can deal with it, so.
pull your shit together. You've got this. Yeah. And I'm here for you. I'm here for you in any way you want me to be. I will hold your hand. I will hug you. I will be there for you. But I'm not going to comfort that littleness. I'm not going to go say, poor you. Oh, what are you going to do? Oh, I will come and save you. And the reason we do that, for people, is because we are afraid for ourselves. And
Absolutely.
we are not afraid for ourselves. We're not
Acceptance
afraid
of ourselves.
Exactly. This is exactly what the whole ponu person thingy was talking about.
Yeah.
Like, it's for your evolution. So if I'm afraid for myself, and this comes back to when you see your clients, right? And they walk in through the door. And I would tell you, and I say this with all of the love because you are my beloved husband, that you were more afraid for yourself when those clients walked in than you were for them. There was a deep fear in you that you were like, oh my gosh, I need to be afraid for this person. I need to be afraid for their back pain. I need to be afraid for their disc injury or their sciatica or whatever, because there's a deep fear within you. Not for you and your sciatica, but there's a deep fear for yourself. And once you move past that fear for yourself, then you can be of service to the holiness and the godliness in other people, and you can be
100%.
not afraid for them. So that is exactly what I would say has happened, is that you've just moved past your deep fears. And I would say that has happened because, like, that is what we have decided to do. You know, I've decided to do it.
We decided to evolve and chase that next thing.
Chase the fear, you know, face the fear down. And that is what we are. We are fear hunters. And that, you know, the ego will create those fears. And we just need to be brave enough. And that is part of my work and part of my dharma, which is I'm here for people's fear. I'm not afraid
face the fears,
for you.
But also, like, removing those fears so you can not just face fears, but follow those moments of inspiration.
Yeah, well, the moments
it's not all about fear and terror and all the bad stuff.
It's like terror.
It's like, holy crap. Why don't I do this thing?
Well,
let's do this thing.
Well,
you
inspiration
get these glimmers when you're free of the cloudiness.
Well, that's love. And love and fear are the only two things there are. And once you clear fear, all there is love. We just talked about this. Love is infinite. And so, yeah, if you are afraid for yourself, you will be afraid for others, and you will comfort their littleness because you are comforting the littleness in you.
Yep.
And that is exactly where you were. And it is exactly what you're moving through right now. And I think we will never stop this. And in about another 6 months, we'll have this conversation again. And you'll be like, guess what?
Oh my God. This
I
other
knew
layer
nothing.
just dropped.
But for now, this is where we are at. Yep. So thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure. And we're out.